how we're seeing things, how we're viewing the world, and how we are holding life, like how we hold it. So you gave us 8 things to help us really look at life more closely. 9 things, thank you, that help us look at life more closely. And then what we need is we need the opportunity to somebody to listen us to life. So when you were talking, tell me your name again. Karen, when you were talking with Karen, she was starting to come to life. And you didn't want to stop talking to her. And that's wonderful because you were listening to her into life. She says, my son said this week, and you're a testimony to, it doesn't matter if your parents die early. She's starting to really look at her life. And so did y'all notice that? Don't miss that. Okay, so that was real coaching going on right in that moment. And so I believe that everybody should learn how to coach. And one of the things that we do out in the world is that we tend to advise, and we tend to hear other people's story and then start talking about ourselves. So if you say, I've got this thing in my life, the person next to you goes, oh, me too, and then they just start talking about themselves and don't focus on you. And so the beautiful thing about coaching is that you can create this sacred space where you can really listen to somebody into life, right? And so I really want to teach people how to do this in all sorts of different venues. So in the last hour of the career transition group, we're going to start moving through the basics of coaching. And so this is the basics of coaching, as basic as it gets. The whole thing about coaching is that it's about learning. And the bottom line is about getting more knowledge, getting smarter, getting more intellectual, and being more emotionally intelligent about your life. Okay, has anybody ever heard of emotional intelligence? Okay, there's a book that was written about 10 years ago by a gentleman named Daniel Goleman, and he says that, you can be really book smart, get straight A's, but you can't navigate a relationship. You can't figure out how to get a job. You can't figure out how to move through the world in an efficient way. There takes a whole nother set of skills and capacities. Look at this face on Juan Hanna right now. He's like, he knows what I'm talking about, don't you? Yes. And so it takes 2 sets. Now, coaching learning is more like emotional intelligence learning. Okay, you will pick up some intellectual things because during a coaching process, for example, you said, you need to know your numbers. And people are sitting there telling you, I don't know my numbers. So you have to really sit down. It may be that you have to sit down with a 30-year-old and teach them how to balance their checkbook, which that may be hard to believe that people aren't doing that, but people are not doing that.
Absolutely.
So they need the intellectual intelligence on how to get a bank statement, get their act together, or maybe in the case of some people, you haven't ever had to put a resume together. So you got to know the basics of how to put a resume together. But here's the thing, you can have the best resume on the planet, but you walk into the job interview and you cannot emotionally connect with the person across the table from you, you are out of luck. So it takes both sets of skills. So in coaching, the coach with permission offers their intellectual information, but the whole goal is to get the person in front of them to become emotionally intelligent about where they are in their life. Okay? So we are trying to listen people into life, and we are simply trying to be curious. Now, curiosity is a wonderful skill, but I find that we lose it after about age 7. All right? What happens is that instead of being asked what we think about things, we get continually being told, this is what you need to think about things. And that starts right in our school system. And so after, 12 years of that, we've been just taking in, instead of having the opportunity to put out, or to give our opinion or our thoughts, or to play with the ideas that are presented to us. So like they put God in school, they take God out of school. I mean, what are kids supposed to think, but they don't ever get a say in it. What would it be like if we got a bunch of kindergartners, 3rd graders, and 8th graders together and said, do y'all think we should have God in school? Wonder what that conversation would be like. But we don't do that. We have all the adults that are out and rattle that thing out. But anyway, so it's like we need to be curious about what's really going on in people's lives. And so curiosity is this place where you're just wondering. You turn to wonder. You just wonder why they said that. Turning to wonder. Okay? So a lot of times when we're talking to people, especially our children, our 16-year-olds and our teenagers, you know, we ask them a question like this, and we think this is a question. Don't you think you ought to do this? Okay, that is not a good question. That is not, there's no curiosity in there, is there, Bob? It's like, I'm telling you, but it's a question. All right, so our questions have to be really, really what I call powerful. They have to be a question that I have no idea what the answer might be. I'm just trying to get the person to open up so I can listen to them so we can go deeper. A couple of times today you said, you know, we got to go deeper. Did you hear her say that? At least 2 or 3 times she said, we got to go deeper. Yeah. All right? And so curiosity takes us deeper and deeper and deeper. Now when you work with somebody or even work with yourself, because you can coach yourself, you can sit quietly and meditate on these questions. You can use a scripture to prompt you. You can use poetry. You can use the Happiness Project book. You can use all sorts of books to help you move through the process. And the thing is that you've got to get focused on something. You've got to choose something to be focused on. And you said repeatedly today, over and over and over, you've got to decide. Mm-hmm. How many times did she say, you've got to decide on something? Okay? Which is like, get focused. Mm-hmm. And then if you choose, if you go ahead and choose a backpack in Italy, okay, what are you going to need to say yes to and what are you going to need to say no to? Okay? So if I go to Italy with a backpack, I'm going to have to say no to 6 pairs of shoes.
Exactly.
That's right. She probably likes shoes.
And she decided, believe me, she's a shoe person like me.
I was going to say, that doesn't fall far from the tree.
But she decided that she could not do a lot of shopping. She wanted to keep, and she pared down the more she decided to travel. She was like, nope, I can't do this. Yeah, it's 1 of 3. She had to figure it out.
Right. And so balance, bottom line, is about what do you need to say yes to and what do you need to say no to. Now, a lot of people come to us, especially in this venue or in this place, and so I'm just going to, my spirit is grieving that this gentleman left, but I have no idea why he left. Maybe he has maybe he has an interview, maybe this wasn't for him, but do y'all remember what he said? Mm-hmm. What did he say?
He said 2 words and he wasn't very happy, but I don't know what they were, but I do know.
Do you remember what they were?
Struggling.
It was stress.
Oh, yes. He said, I'm overwhelmed and confused. Okay? So I was actually going to ask him to come sit in this chair. Okay? Because here's the thing. When you are overwhelmed and confused, you are out of balance. And it only takes a yes and a no to get you more upright. Okay? And then after you figure out what you need to say yes to and what you need to say no to, it's like, what is the next right step? How am I going to be productive about making that yes happen and that no happen? And then finally, when we actually do what we said we're going to do, we can be fulfilled and we'll celebrate the fact that we did it. You know, so did you see her up for saying, my daughter is in Italy? Yeah. We are celebrating. Okay, and how many times have you celebrated that?
Every day.
Every day. Every day she's like, Italy! I mean, you can fill yourself up with those good thoughts just in a second. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. And with the possibilities of creating something anew, because I'm going to Greece this year.
Yeah. Well, it'll be cheap because they're just dying for a tourist. Yes. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. I'm going to talk about powerful questions for a second, and I'm going to attempt to demonstrate this in front of you.